you'll send a fresh touch of your Holy Spirit into their lives, that you will strengthen them and encourage them, bring people around them that lift them up in prayer day by day, that those especially that are believers, that there'll be other believers in their fellowship that will throughout the day just reach out to them in prayer, and it may be just at that exact time that they need that extra boost from your Spirit. And those that don't know you, as they're coming to deal with all these issues, that it'll bring them to you in a saving knowledge of your Son, Jesus Christ. And I just thank you for the work that you are doing, Father, and that you've started, and that it'll just continue to grow and be a movement that sweeps over our nation and around the world. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, good. I think we got some good stuff there.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah. I'm glad to do it. Anything we can do, and it's, we're all kind of just stepping out in faith and figuring it all out and stuff. But I think as we do more of that and make people aware of different needs that are out there, I really feel that from the Holy Spirit, that more and more individuals will rise up to take up the cause. And
it's needed. I was looking online this morning, a few statistics. In the U.S., there's about 500,000 people on dialysis.
Wow.
And the average dialysis patient, what was it? At 5 years, there's like a 35% survival rate.
Yeah.
Most people don't make it 5 years.
Yeah.
And
because that was something I know I had always heard, is that for a lot of individuals, if they go on dialysis, is you're looking at maybe a couple of years or something. And
yeah.
A lot of them don't survive long.
Part of the reason for that is that a lot of people go on dialysis late in life.
Yeah.
And it really is very hard on
Sure.
old people. Their vascular systems just aren't up to what amounts to a balloon existence. You're below,
Sure.
it's hugely expanded and then deflated.
Yeah.
Over and over, because you have all this water built up in your system, and then it's all gone, all at once. Instead of having a more even situation like you would if you had.
It's got to be very traumatic on your system.
Yeah, and for older people, it's much worse. So they're a lot more prone to heart attacks and strokes and things on dialysis than other people, and therefore don't live as long.
Yeah, I see that. Especially when you're getting into your senior years. Like my mom's 87. I got a neighbor that's like 94,
Yes.
and you look at their health just in general. Even though they're basically healthy, to put that kind of strain on the system is very, very traumatic. Yes. And
so, but I do know people. I am not the longest surviving one at my clinic. There's 3 or 4 other people who've been there longer. We have one lady who's soon going to have been on dialysis 20 years.
Wow.
But that's the exception, not the rule.
And is she even someone that's a candidate for donations, or is it?
I don't think so. She's got a genetic problem.
Yeah. So then.
She for a while there, it was she and 2 of her sons that were coming to dialysis together because they all had the same the same thing, and one of her sons is still there, but one of them has passed away. So, and that was all kidney disease related.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, when you get into genetics, it's hard to run away from your genes, isn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's about it.
Yeah, I think we got some good stuff. I think the information's there, and it's personal, and so
okay.
I think that'll be good.
Well, if you need me to come back and do something again, or whatever, we will.
Yeah, and if there's anything you think of, if you find any information, stats, whatever.
Yes.
Even if it's the little photos or something that might be something to help tell a story.
I thought about bringing a picture of the needles they use.
Yeah,
but I didn't want anyone passing out.
Actually, some things like that. Just email that to me or because it is something people should be aware of, because You know, there's a lot of people don't even like, you know, giving blood with a little teeny vial and stuff. You know, I used to do plasma, so I got used to, you know, but that was still only a couple hours, and we took it out. And
they used 2 needles, and the ones I use, they varied for the individual, but the ones I use are 14 gauge, 1 3/4 inch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're.
You see it coming.
Think. No, I don't, because I don't look. Think finish nail size.
Right.
That's about what they're like. And people, you know, I tell people that, and they think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not.
Right.
That's about this. That's about what they are.
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good to get some pictures of those.
Yeah.
Anything like that would be.
Yeah. But that scares a lot of people.
Yeah. Save it for the end, or.
Yeah. I know. When they first told me that at some point I was going to have to go on dialysis, I've always been a real big chicken about needles.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are.
And I had repeating nightmares, just the worst nightmares. I would dream that like a boa constrictor or, you know, some giant snake had grabbed hold of my arm and was wrapping around me. And I would just wake up just, you know, gasping for breath.
Right? Oh, wow.
On the verge of screaming. So, it's not that bad.
Right. Well, yeah.
But you know,
that's another issue.
Can sure do. And a lot of people, when they first come in, are really very frightened.
I'll bet.
You know.
It's a very traumatic thing. I mean, I don't like new situations to begin with, so something that would be new to my health, I can see where it'd be very emotionally scary, and just, you know, like you said, you know, restless nights and the dreams.
There can be some pretty good pain involved with it.
Sure.
You know. Especially when you first start, you know.
Well, and I imagine too, if when it's all new, if you're still working on diet issues and all that type of thing, and you're not that good at that, and you know, don't think of something,
which makes
eat something, drink something you shouldn't have, or whatever.
The big thing that a lot of dialysis people do is drink too much.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean drink too much in
the
usual sense.
Right. Yeah.
Just literally drink.
Just fluids.
Yeah, because you're used to drinking. You know, if you drink 8 glasses of water a day, you're in trouble. That's way too much fluids. So, you know, and that can cause you a lot of problems.
Sure. So the fluids, do they process out of your body at least some, or?
But
it's very limited.
Well, the thing is, if you drink too much, you're going to have a serious blood pressure issue. Okay. Because your veins will be stretched out like this, and then all of a sudden there's no, you know, they got all the fluid out of the system, and so your blood pressure drops dramatically. You know, and that's something they really have to watch you for all the time when you're on the machine.
How much fluid are you able to intake a day normally?
Well, they say for most people you don't want to go much over 3 pints a day.
Okay.
Which is doable, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, a lot of people, especially these days when they've just pushed so hard, that drink a lot of water, and
and that's not the
you
answer.
walk around with thing of water in your hand all the time, or coffee. A lot of people do that. And then you go on dialysis. You can't do that anymore.
Sure.
And that's a hard habit to break.
Well, especially with water, because you're thinking this is healthy, this is good. And,
Well, another thing you really have to watch, when you go to a restaurant and you get, you know, a drink with your meal, you know, tea or coffee or whatever, that waitress is thinking she's doing you a favor, keeping you full.
Filling up, and you're not realizing how many times it's been filled.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, you have to get in the habit of telling them right off, don't give me any more than 2 cups of coffee, or you know, or whatever your limit is.
Yeah, especially in our country, because it's like, you know, if you go to a gas station or something, or some place to get a soda or something, you know, they're pushing these big, huge 64 ounces or 44 ounces, or
you know, that's like 3 days worth.
Yeah, it's like then all those days are gone. And
Yep, that's all true. Of course, you really shouldn't be drinking soda anyway.
Well, it's not healthy for anybody.
Dialysis people usually drink either the clear sodas like Sprite or root beer. The colas are pretty much a no-no.
Yeah. Well, also with dialysis, just thought of that was, is there issues with things like diabetes? Are there a lot of normal complications with it, or is there not?
Your diabetes doesn't go away because you're on dialysis.
Sure.
So, yeah, you still have to think about that, which sometimes complicates things because the dietary recommendations and restrictions for one can clash with the other.
Sure.
Yeah,
because the sugars and stuff is, I guess, is what I was wondering if there's if you have issues with that.
If you're not diabetic, you can, sugar's not
That's
a problem.
not going to be an issue.
Yeah, in fact, it's probably good for you to get a little extra in.
Yeah.
Just for your energy levels, but if you have a heart condition or anything else, that doesn't change
Right.
on dialysis. The one thing that is really bad, and I've lost some friends this way, if you get cancer and you're on dialysis, the things they do, the chemo and stuff for the cancer clashes very badly with the dialysis, and it's usually a very grim scenario.
So anybody on dialysis, they end up with cancer. It's not a promising mix at all.
Particularly if it's colon cancer or pancreatic cancer. Those, I'm not sure exactly why those, but those are particularly bad. I had a dear friend about 5 years ago that we lost. She was on dialysis, and she got colon cancer, and it was just everything they did for one made the other worse.
Yeah.
So she wound up just quitting the dialysis, and of course, when people do that, they can usually expect to live maybe 2 weeks.
Sure.
That's about as far as it goes.
Because one of the things that the kidneys does is taking toxins and stuff out of your bodies.
Takes the toxins out. Usually the people who quit, and there are people who just quit because they don't like it, and they say, I'm not going to do this for...
Had enough.
Yeah. Usually they die of a heart attack because you have all that fluid built up in your system, and your heart can't stand the pressure.
Sure.
So, but...
Do individuals on dialysis tend to be more susceptible to things like colds, flus, things like that, or is
Not
that pretty much not so much?
Not necessarily.
Because your white blood cells, I guess, and stuff are what's fighting some of that stuff, so that wouldn't be
That's not
affected
really
by
an
that.
issue.
So
We have red blood cell issues because we lose it, but but the white blood cells is not really a problem. Something even my doctors, when I first got sick, didn't realize. What happened with me is that at first I was severely anemic, and they couldn't figure out why on earth I would be anemic.
Yeah.
And they ran tests and this and that and all kinds of stuff. And finally, one of the what do they call those people? They're not doctors, but they're right next to doctors. Medical assistants or
like the nurse practitioner,
physician's
or somebody.
assistants. That's what they call them. She read an article that in one of her medical magazines that was talking about how your kidneys produce the enzyme that allows your body to absorb iron. And if your kidneys are failing, that's failing too.
Oh, okay.
So she's like, oh. And she sent me to a nephrologist, and he says, yeah, you've definitely got kidney disease.
Wow.
And we take an artificial form of the enzyme
Oh, okay.
to replace that. They just put it in our lines at clinic, But before I went to dialysis, I had to go get a shot every week
Oh, wow.
of that enzyme.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I could get it.
Sure.
So that's something that most people don't realize.
Well, and especially like if iron builds up in your system, that's
That can be a problem
fatal.
too,
Yeah, that can be.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing is that the kidneys regulate your body's pH.
Okay.
They actually, this is just so crazy. They actually produce baking soda,
Wow.
which lowers your pH.
How about that?
Most people don't realize that.
Wow.
They, they don't. I don't know the exact, technique or whatever.
Sure.
But they somehow filter the chemistry to make the baking soda out of your body chemistry,
Isn't that something?
and use that to lower your to keep your pH in balance.
And if you get more acidic, then you're more susceptible to like inflammation and things like that.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, there they manage our pH as our blood's going through the system,
Yeah.
through the machinery, and it's really quite a complicated process.
Well,
and
yeah.
it takes a lot of knowledge to run one and run it well.
Oh, I bet.
There's
Yeah.
a lot involved.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how you can go and filter out, blood. And I get you said that that you lose some red blood cells when they do it too.
Just because you have blood in the lines
Sure.
and stuff, and they can't get that all back to you
Right.
Without giving you more fluid back than you got.
Right. Yeah, and they don't want to do that. It'd top you off.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah, that wouldn't be good. But yeah, it's just because you have blood running through the system, and
Sure.
and they can't get all of that back and give it back to you.
Right.
Basically what the dialyzer is a big filter, a big osmosis filter.
Okay.
It's kind of the same process they use to filter water.
Yeah, they do the reverse osmosis
Yes.
with water. People are probably familiar with that.
It's kind of that, but there's several stages to it, as I understand the system. There's several stages to it,
Oh, I'm sure.
and one stage will filter out the potassium or whatever, the other will phosphorus. That's something else. With the phosphorus,
Mm-hmm.
the reason they have to be so careful with that is phosphorus will build up in your system, and it will make your veins and arteries brittle,
Oh, yeah.
and it will also collect in your joints, and it give you a symptom similar to arthritis.
Okay.
It will kind of eat away at your joints,
Sure.
which wouldn't be any fun.
No. No.
I've seen, they show you all these pictures to scare you.
Oh, yeah.
Of people whose just their fingers are crooked, and
Uh-huh.
it looks like they're turning into the swamp monster or
Right,
something.
right.
Because it can actually come up through the skin.
Oh, wow.
These deposits of phosphorus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not pretty.
No.
But
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sure
you definitely don't
they're
want
quite painful
veins
to
and
look.
arteries being brittle. That's
Yeah.
not. They need to be flexible and working the way they're supposed to.
With the potassium helps control your muscle function, including your heart, which is a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
If potassium builds up on you, it's going to make your muscles weak.
Oh, sure.
And I had that happen to me once before. We were having a problem with my access that they hadn't realized at that point. But it was, instead of taking up blood that was coming like down
Mhm.
through, it was taking up blood that had just been sent back. So that it was so like there was this
wasn't
little
really
spot.
filtering.
It wasn't really cleaning all of
Yeah.
my blood. It was getting that one little bit very
Right.
clean.
Yeah.
But it wasn't cleaning all of it. And so I had potassium really build up on me bad one time. And I didn't realize it. They didn't realize it. And I took my daughter to school one morning, went by the grocery store, everything seemed fine, got home, put the groceries away, and sat down and could not stand up again.
Wow.
I was very fortunate in that it affected my leg muscles. If it had affected my heart, I wouldn't be
Oh,
here.
yeah.
But we had to call an ambulance, and they had to come and get me in the gurney.
Wow.
And,
So basically, your muscles weren't working.
yeah, they just were.
Yeah, if it was your heart, you need that to work.
It would
Yeah.
it would have been the same thing if it was
Sure.
my heart, But I was in the hospital probably longer than I've been with anything else for that.
Probably took them a little while to figure out exactly what happened.
Well, no, they knew it was excess potassium, but it took them a while to work it down.
Yeah.
To get it
Yeah.
down to where I was safe and stuff. And that was not a fun trip.
No.
So that's the things that can happen to you.
Right.
Yeah. And the potassium thing, you really got to watch your diet on that. Oranges are very high. All citrus fruit is high in potassium.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know this lady, but we heard about it. She was fond of oranges, and I don't know why her family did this, but she was in the hospital anyway for something else, and she talked him into bringing her oranges. And instead of bringing her one or two, which she might have gotten away with,
Right.
they brought her a bag of
Like
oranges.
a bag of them.
And she lay there in the hospital bed and ate every one of them, and it killed her.
Wow.
It killed her, deader than
Sure.
a doorknob. She had a heart attack right there, and they couldn't bring her back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of thing, unless you're dealing with certain issues, a lot of people are so unaware of what's good, what's
Well,
bad, what's healthy,
yeah,
what's,
yeah.
I
I'm
know
sure that her family didn't,
a friend of mine was
think about that
talking
whether-
about years ago, there were some individuals that had cancer, and they were like giving them all kinds of ice cream, and they didn't realize that giving them all that sugar was feeding the cancer. And that giving a lot of sugar wasn't good when you have cancer, because it's like, it starts to burn it up and,
Yeah.
actually made it more aggressive and stuff. And they're
Oh.
thinking,
I didn't
they're
know
dealing
that.
with all this, and, it would help, and stuff like that. Yeah,
Try to cheer them up, yeah.
and bring them some oranges. That's what they like. And, and I never would have thought of oranges being high in potassium. Banana's the one that everybody always thinks of.
Most fruit has some potassium in it. Some's worse than others. There's a few food. Have you ever heard of the star fruit? You know what a star fruit is?
Yeah, yeah.
A dialysis person can't touch one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're just deadly high.
Wow.
Yeah, they're really, really bad.
Yeah,
So there are some things like that. But,
sure.
apples, grapes in moderation, a pear once in a while. If you're, they track your potassium. That's one of the things they test you for once a month. And if it's low, you could probably get away with a banana once a week.
Yeah,
Something like that. But you don't want
sure.
you don't want to get happy with
You're
it.
not going to buy a bunch and keep it in the house.
No.
No.
And I don't.
No banana bread, I guess.
No. I don't know.
Maybe a slice here and there.
You might get away with that because
It's spread out.
It's
so,
spread out, and I don't know.
Yeah.
There are things that when you cook them, it helps.
Yeah.
It helps get rid of whatever the bad thing is.
Yeah.
Like potatoes are high in potassium.
Yeah.
But what they tell us to do with potatoes is either soak them overnight or boil them and throw away the water that you boiled.
Oh, yeah.
Because that will pull the potassium out of them.
Pulls the. I know it pulls some of the starch out too. I think.
Yeah, it does.
So,
Yeah. And
that makes
so,
sense.
So they're safer.
Yeah.
You still shouldn't go crazy with them, but
Right.
but they're safer. So we can do potato salad and mashed potatoes, but probably not fried potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Things like that. So anyhow, is there anything else I can?
I think we're good. I didn't think
All right,
unless you have something else, but I think we got quite a bit, and then I'll do like a 20-minute one, because I know that was the number that Jim talked about, and then I'll have some other little stuff we can do and
Okay.
try to play around with it and
All right.
do some different things and see how he wants to promote it and let people know about it and stuff.
Very good.
Get the word out, and then
Right.
we'll just keep dialogue going, and
All right.
if we find out, different information and things, and because one of the things we want to do is make people aware, aware of, because, if you don't have someone in your family that's dealing with dialysis or something like that, or someone that works in the field, you hear about it, but you don't really,
Yeah,
know.
oh, you're on dialysis.
Yeah.
When you say that, everybody goes, yeah.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
don't really know why they're going,
it's funny how there's different things like that where just people are just so very ignorant. I guess would be.
I've had part of the joys of this diabetes and all this stuff was I had really serious eye problems about 15 years ago, and the doctor who was dealing with my eye issues, who was wonderful at that, told me that, as she put it, the eye and the kidney go hand in hand. If you're having trouble with one, you deal with the other, and that's true. And there's reasons for that. But she said you're probably going to have some dialysis at some time for a few weeks.
More than a few weeks. Huh?
Yeah. And by the way, the reason for that, the smallest veins in your body are in your eye and in your kidney.
Yeah.
And with the diabetes things, the reason that's it's quite common for diabetics to be on dialysis is because sugar crystallizes in your blood, and can basically it's like having little razor blades.
Oh wow, yeah.
And going through those tiny veins, it damages them. And if you have a lot of high blood sugars on a regular basis, over time, that's going to destroy what they call the nephrons, which is what filters out. They're basically like hairs, but the blood goes through them and it filters out, and they, it sieves out basically the impurities in your blood and shuffles them off to your bladder. And the nephrons get broken or get damaged. They can't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. There's no way to replace that.
And they don't grow back.
Yeah.
It's not entirely true, but close enough. Yeah. They do. They are designed to repair themselves to some degree, but when you're doing that amount of damage that rapidly, they can't recover. They can't fix it fast enough.
Yeah, kind of like I don't know, I was thinking the windshield of your car. You get a little crack at it and they fix it right away. They might be able to fix it, but boy, you get a brick through the window.
And it's bad. You have to replace it.
You got to replace it. So it's something like that. Where
and they can't. So far, they don't know how to replace a nephron.
Yeah.
Because they're literally molecules. They're working on stuff, but so far they can't.
Technology is amazing, but they still have. When you get into the super small and super big and the super cold and the super hot, it's tricky.
3 things I know of so far that they're doing. They're supposed to be really close to having an artificial kidney that, believe it or not, uses technology from microchips to build something approaching a nephron. The other thing is that let's see, I said 3. What was I thinking of? A pig kidney is very similar to a human kidney, and they're working on a technique where they can basically wash the pig kidney of all DNA. And just basically have the structure without the DNA, and introduce your DNA to it, so that it can this kidney will grow your DNA onto it, and then implant it. And if they ever get that to work, that's you would have a kidney that was basically yours. And you wouldn't have the rejection issues and the immunosuppressants going on.
And I know, a friend of mine just had heart surgery and had a valve replaced, and it was a pig valve that they replaced it with.
Yes,
and
they do.
There's a lot of things they can use like that, and that's of course the big thing's the rejection with the kidney. So being able, if they're able to do the DNA,
pig valve too.
Then what a wonderful step that would be to be able to do things like that.
What was the other one I was thinking of? I know there's 3 things going on right now. Tell you the truth, though, when I first started dialysis, they were 2 years away from having an implantable artificial kidney, and that was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah.
So they may come up with something sometime, and I don't want to denigrate their efforts, but I'm a little suspicious, a little cautious on that.
You hear some amazing things sometimes in the health field, but the ability to do it and then the reality of actually doing it in mass is 2 totally different things. And sometimes they talk about things way before it's really ready for
I remember when I first,
mass production is a kind of odd word, but you know,
Yeah.
for the masses, I
Yeah.
guess. You know.
when I first got diabetes, there was all this talk around about how they could take a vein from your leg and do something with it so that it produced insulin and implant it in your arm and basically cured diabetes. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
don't
it never
remember
happened.
hearing anything about that
Never
anymore.
happened.
Yeah.
And I hate to be cynical, but I think on a lot of these things they don't really want to cure them.
You have to wonder, because I know there are some things that are out there that then don't ever seem to make it anywhere.
Don't see the light of day,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you
Well,
have to
it's
wonder if
just
there's a
you-
cash flow issue that.
Well, there are diseases that are just incredibly profitable. Diabetes is one of those.
Sure.
Heart disease is profitable. Arthritis is profitable.
Yeah.
You know, these things are just incredibly profitable, and that's got to be a negative incentive to
Yeah.
cure them.
Yeah.
And you know that these big pharma, as they call it, is, if you were to come up with a what I call a Star Trek pill tomorrow,
Yeah.
are you a Star Trek fan?
Oh, sure.
Do you remember the movie where they came back to our time to get the whale?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a scene in there, you might remember this, I don't know. There was a scene in there where I think it was Chekhov had gotten injured and they'd taken him to the hospital. And they were trying to get him out because they didn't want him giving away that they were from the future. Anyway, so they're running through the halls of this hospital, and McCoy passes this little old lady on a gurney in the hall, and him being a doctor, he stops and says, you know, well, what's the matter with you, honey? And she says, I'm here for dialysis. And he's like, dialysis? What is this, the Middle Ages? And he reaches in his little pouch and he gets out a pill and gives her, and he says, here, honey, you take this, and he'll be fine. So he runs on, and they rescue Chekhov or whatever it was they were doing, and they come back later, and she's up dancing around in the hall, and she's going, my kidney grew back, my kidney grew back. And the doctors are going, it's a perfectly normal, healthy kidney. We don't know what happened. So if somebody were to come up with the Star Trek pill, as
Right.
I call it, I think they'd suppress it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. And even if for individuals that don't know that there are large money institutions, corporations that like to make money on certain things, there's also spiritual forces at work, and there are principalities and powers and rulers of darkness
Absolutely.
that definitely don't want people healthy. They want people
absolutely.
sick, and they can use, whether it's big pharma or whatever kind of group it is that they're using, they can use them to suppress things, to
Right.
steer things in certain directions.
In the wrong direction?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a lot of the medications and stuff we take. Case in point, you know, it was a medication you were taking for the diabetes that ended up
Exactly.
causing the issue, and the side effects and stuff that are all there. I mean, it's they definitely